Hey everyone, my name's Andy from the Finding Value Finance channel. We've got Andrew with us, I guess a ex-coworker, ex-gym member, or
Gym buddy.
ex-gym buddy, whatever it is. Now
Yeah,
we live
gym
kind of
rat.
close. Now we live kind of close together with,
Yeah.
within a mile or so of each other. Um, I wanted to get you on here. You're a little younger than I am. I'm about 10 years older.
Yeah.
We have another buddy that hangs out with us or used to hang out with us. He split the difference between us. He's like 35,
hmm
36. You're 30. I'm over a little over 40. Um, I want to, I'm curious, and maybe other people have the same viewpoint as you, but what's your idea of building wealth and the process that you are going through to build wealth? Like what is kind of what are some things that you're doing to build wealth and
Yeah,
your
I think
ideas around it?
I think maybe first you kind of got to define what wealth is in a way. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to be esoteric about it, but what's it mean to you in terms of like retirement goals? So I think we've talked about this a lot too, but it's just freedom to just do what you want. Freedom to have as much time as you want, freedom to do what you want, whether you want to start your own business, maybe you have enough wealth where your goal has always been to open up a bar. Okay, now you got the wealth to do that. Maybe your goal's always been to travel everywhere. All right, that's for you. Go for it. Neither one of those are really what I want to do, but I think just having those options available to you is what I want to have in life, whether that's today, 10 years from now, when I'm 40, when I'm 50, or when most people usually they see that at age 67 when they
Mm-hmm.
max out Social Security. I hope that's not me, because at that point, those options start to go down because now you don't have you're too old to do some of those options. So anywhere in between. So that's how I see it. I don't know. Are you similar in that aspect of what wealth means to you?
Yeah, so you have an idea of wealth, and the idea is that it'll be freedom, it'll be something better than the state that you're in. That's kind of what I think the idea is. It's like if I have this amount, therefore I have XYZ or something like that. I think that's what most people think. Maybe not everybody, but they always think, well, if I had more, if I had this, if I had that. And I think once you kind of get a lot of money, and I would say I'm probably there, I think all of the stuff that you don't care about, it just like melts away.
Mm,
Like
hmm
you really don't care about the stuff that you don't care about. And then the stuff you care about, you want to maximize that. As weird as that sounds. So if you've got a, I don't know, a company, like let's say you've got a job and you don't like your job, you're just like, whatever. Like before it was like, I have to have this job is my income. And you almost have to like do a really good job and you think that you have to progress forward and you have to do this and you have to do that and you got to get more money from that job. All that falls away. You're just kind of like, whatever. If I have the job, it's fine. If I don't have the job, that's fine too. So that's what I really like about like once you get over a certain threshold or once you kind of get past an area, and I don't know what that is for each person. Like I don't know if it's a number. I don't know if it's like X amount of dollars over your like like your expenses or something like that. You just stop caring about the stuff you don't care about, and then you start maximizing, hopefully maximizing the things you do care about. That's what I see as wealth and the abilities of what wealth can bring. Wealth being like, I mean, you could say that wealth is dollars or wealth is ounces or whatever it is,
Right.
but I don't know. That's my viewpoint on it. All the things that you don't like doing, you just say, screw it.
Hey, I got a good example of that where you're talking about job stuff. I'm still in the Army Reserves at the moment, and I see myself getting out in about a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
If you asked me that 4 years ago, that was not an option because the benefits is pretty good, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
healthcare benefits, dental benefits, the money you can get, or maybe the opportunities to deploy and make more money. The retirement's pretty good, but then I'm at a point now where I'm like, man, it's just not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Financially, if I measure time against what I will get from those benefits, I go, I don't really need it anymore. I'm doing pretty dang good right now. So why do it? And I think that's a small example of how, someone like me who's 30 has enough wealth where they can make my options are bigger now. And that option is I don't need to do that weekend warrior National Guard reserve life anymore. Why bother?
Yeah, and I think, well, I should ask you, how did you get to that point? Like, what did you do to position yourself to get there?
Um, oh, for one, I think this is the most important thing for anyone in their 20s. Don't have debt. Just don't make excuses. Don't talk about, there's too many people my age that go, hey, if you have a loan for 3.5%, just invest the difference in the stock market for 10. No, it just, I don't agree with that. I know the math makes sense and the numbers make sense, but if you've got $80,000 in student loans hanging over your head, you live your life differently, without a doubt. If you got a $60,000 car loan, you live your life differently. Now your car, because it has such an expensive loan on it, when you see your car, any little scratch or dent gets you nervous, gets you anxious. Me, everything's paid off and they're a little older. So now if something happens to it, it's like, eh, it's got another scratch. Oh well, it's got 10 scratches on it already. Um, but if you're still paying down on it, you kind of look at it like I need to invest time into this thing when you could be investing time in things that are more fun or things that you have hobbies in or things that you have more passion in, like making YouTube videos. You spend all day worrying about your $80,000 Mercedes and you're making $50,000 a year. That's going to be a dark cloud over your head of massive debt on top of you. And I think that's the biggest mistake kids in their um, 20 kids, other adults in their 20s are making. I see that at my job right now. I'm a chief engineer. So I've got about 8 engineers under me that are younger than me. There's a few engineers older than me, but I got about 8 younger than me. And the most common thing I see that they're all doing wrong is right out of college, the first thing they're doing is looking at cars to
Mhm.
finance it, to finance the cars. So
Yeah,
I think that slows you down a lot, a lot.
yeah. I don't know. I drive really old cars. I'm like the cheapest.
I don't even want to get into that. You need a new car. If anyone needs a new car, it's you.
Well, here's things that like I think are just ridiculous. All right, like when people say, so there's people that work, they make like $50,000, right, a year, and they buy like an $80,000 car, and I'm sitting here going like oh my god, I try to think about that scale of how much I make, and then what I'd have to buy in order for me to get into that type of scenario that they're in, and I'm like, crap, I'd be buying like a Porsche GT2 RS, like two of them or something. And it's like, how could you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, like that's like just stupid. Like I couldn't imagine doing it. And I don't I don't know. I don't know. I don't ever
Yeah.
put myself in that type of I see that as a form of weakness. Like you're putting yourself under this debt and you're in a position of weakness because now you have to make these payments of whatever it is.
Yes.
So now you're like, I'll take whatever job, I'll take whatever position, move me up, I'll work whatever hours, I'll do. And I'm like I'm the opposite. I'm like, I don't need to do anything. You get a boss yelling at you, see ya, whatever.
Hmm.
I've got the option to do whatever. So I mean, that's really what you're sacrificing. You're sacrificing the position of strength versus a position of weakness that you're going to take anything no matter what versus I'm going to do whatever the heck I want. And if you don't like it, I'm out. See ya. I don't need this job. I don't need, this certain thing. So, well, how did you get to the position that you're in now? I mean, I know that you own two homes, right? You
Yeah.
have two homes, you're renting one out. You're investing in stocks, you're investing in precious metals and other
Yep.
different things and assets.
Yep.
How did how like what decided what made you go that path and how did you get there? Kind of.
Well, I think the most obvious, or not obvious, but the answer people should have or come to discover is you got to have a mentor of some kind. Um, and then more importantly than that, and I think we relate really well with this, but so when we met, I would say for those years, and even today, that you would be like a financial mentor, and you were also like a weightlifting mentor too, right? So you had all that experience, and you're also close enough in age. So I think what most people should do is find a mentor that's no older than 10 years older than you. Because once you start hitting 20 years older, it's more of like a parental um, kind of mentorship. And I don't want to say they're out of touch, but it's easier to be out of touch, right? So anyone 20 years older than me is saying, go to college at all costs. But then there's people in our age group that are going, I don't know if that's really the right answer anymore these days.
Hmm.
People like my dad would say, go to the military at all costs. And I go, Dad, the military is way different today than it was when you were in the military in the 90s. It is a completely different, it's a complete woke organization almost these days. And so and he doesn't relate. He can't believe it. He's shocked when I tell him those things. But if you have someone that's closer in age, like 5 to 10 years older than you, then all the mistakes they made 10 years ago when they were your age, they still remember that. Someone who's in their 60s today, I don't know if they can remember too many of the mistakes they made when they were 30, which is why
Hmm.
it's easy for me to try, at least try to be a mentor to some of those engineers that are 22, 23 under me and help them, make good decisions. That's why I'm not, it's important, mentorship is
Hmm.
important on how to be a mentor, but you don't want to be over embracive on them, right? And try to tell them what to do. You just guide them and be like, look, if you're going to go with it, you're going to do what you want to do anyways. Go ahead and make your mistakes. And if you like it, then I'm wrong. If you don't like it, you can always come back and ask for advice again. You make it very open. And I think you did that with me easily. Yeah, yeah. Me and you had those kinds of conversations all the time. Whether I was investing in cryptocurrencies at the time or whether I was that guy that was trying to buy an expensive car, you were always saying, why? You'd try to make me answer it. And then if I couldn't come to an answer, you'd be like, well, if you don't have an answer for why you're doing these things, then maybe you shouldn't do it. And if you're going to do it anyways, go ahead and make that mistake. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's easy to you got to have a mentor. I would say no more than 10 years older than you, help guide you financially to be where you want to be. And that would have definitely been you. And so that's how I got involved in commodities, precious metals, and just definitely embraced the no debt lifestyle. I think you're not. I don't know if I would call you a minimalist, but you're definitely on the border of that. And
Yeah,
and I
I
think you
am.
helped me with that for sure. Like when I was 22, 23, I was just like any other 22, 23-year old, right? And then you're like, why are you spending money on this garbage? Like, and then I think about it. Yeah, I guess it is garbage. Why am I doing this? No, I'd stop
Yeah,
doing it.
I I say that about a lot, like the toys that we buy our kids and stuff, and I'm just like, this is all going to end up in the garbage at some point. Like, I mean, you could have some toys, but like you buy like a copious amounts of toys. Like people buy these toys from, relatives and whatever. They bring them over, and I'm just like, oh god.
No,
And
not more
what I see
toys.
is like, they see, oh, these kids can play with a puzzle. I see like this is going to be one heck of a mess that's just going to scatter everywhere.
Yeah,
I have to eventually clean up day after day after day after day. So I'm like, just like I'll take the package and just put it in the garbage. I'm like, I don't want to pick this stuff up for the rest of my
right.
the next 2 years of my life. And I don't know if they think about that. They lose like 5 or 6 or 10 pieces. The thing's garbage anyway. So
Yeah, or they eat it.
yeah, it's like impossible to. I don't know. I that's kind of my viewpoint, but there isn't too many things in life where I'm like, wow, I really got to have this. And I think it gets worse with age, not better, because
Mhm.
as you get older, you're like, I don't need any of this crap. And then you just kind of sit there and maybe you buy experiences or something like that, which is obviously kind of cool. But outside of that, you just start looking at things, and I don't know. I struggle to even buy anything because I don't think it's going to make my life much better.
No. Oh, here's another example too, because to address the original question, it's just I think when you're in your 20s, um, wisely spending on things. That's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because if you're, time is your friend when you're in your 20s to build wealth. And so if you're spending money on unnecessary things when you're in your 20s, like buying the new iPhone every year, buying a new TV every year just because they get a little bit better definition, buying a new PC for computer gaming every 2 years, buying the new Xbox, a new PlayStation every 4 years, just all those things added together when you could be using that to invest would be, and not just invest, but even just in savings. Like even if you have it invested and it's not growing too fast, you still have all that money in reserves that you can liquidate pretty quickly. Just sell the stock and put it back into your checking account, and then you can use
Mm-hmm.
that money for whatever you want it for. Um, but if you're spending it on all this garbage, then that goes away completely. And one example I have, about, you get older and you, what would you say? You don't want stuff as much. We did a video. This was a while back, but remember, I haven't told you this yet, but remember when we were looking at the RAV4s and the
Mhm.
hybrids and comparing them and all that? I went to the dealer twice. I sat down with the dealer twice to trade in my Forerunner for a RAV4 hybrid. And they wanted my Forerunner plus $20,000 to get the RAV4. And I was like, no, not doing it.
Mhm.
And like 20,000 isn't a lot for me, right? In my stage of life right now. If I wanted to go into savings, take the 20K and get a new car for 20K, like most people would be like, "Oh, wow, that's a good, good deal, 20K these days." Or just finance it, put a 5-year loan on it for 20K and that'll be like $200 a month easy. But me, I looked at it and I go, I'm not trading in my perfectly good Forerunner and paying 20K on top of it just to get a RAV4 hybrid. To me, it wasn't worth
Yeah.
it. But I think me, 7 years ago, probably would have done it with making less money, with less wealth. 7 years ago, I think I would have made that deal.
Mhm.
Today, no, I walked away.
Yeah. I'm in a totally different camp than that even.
Yeah, I didn't even. When were your cars made? Like in the 30s?
You know, 2000s, mid 2000s is
Yeah.
all my cars, and they are falling apart. I agree, some of them, but I'm gonna keep riding them. I've got small kids; they're gonna tear stuff up anyway. So
Yeah, yeah, that's
there's
a
no
good
reason
point.
for
Yeah.
me to buy anything that's nice. They're just gonna jump in it, stand in it, and stomp their dirty feet all over everything, and then rip
Drinks
stuff
and
up and
juice and
spill things. Yeah, it's all that.
spill and food.
So it's a perfect car for a perfect time in life.
But you were kind
For
of
all that.
you were raised that way, right? Like to be pretty frugal.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think it's. I mean, my brother doesn't. He's not like me completely. He
Oh,
spends a
okay.
lot. He
Yeah.
spends a lot. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I think that matters a bit too. Like my wife's family, they're all very frugal. Like all of them.
Hmm.
Cousins, grandparents, parents, brother, sister. Yeah. Very, very frugal. Frugal as in, but wisely, right? They still spend a lot for good reason, but they're not like those old misers that no one wants to be friends with. But you can tell that they were raised properly on how to appreciate a dollar. My family was kind of like that to a certain degree, but not too much. Um, but
What
we were also kind of poor growing up, kind of poor.
What about like the process though? Like, is there gates or something that someone would want to know? Like, for instance, we obviously mentioned don't get into debt.
Yeah.
I see that as very fairly obvious because debt puts you in the opposite direction. You have to pay an interest rate that's going against you, not with you. So get out of debt, obviously, and then you've got some savings. I mean, that just makes sense. But I mean, we are very far removed from that lifestyle.
Hmm.
Like we aren't. I don't know too many people that are in massive amounts of debt. And I made this comment once before, and I don't hang out with a lot of people. I'm kind of I've got my small little groups, and they're all kind of sectioned off. I've got my car guys, and I've got kind of just the other guys like the gym people and stuff like that. And I was hanging out with some people that were friends with my wife and our neighbors and stuff. And they were talking about people, like their loans and stuff. And I was just listening, and I was sitting there like, holy crap, these people are extended.
Huh.
Like I was completely like I would have never guessed, and I didn't realize people were that extended. So what I mean by like extended, like they had like 50% of their income or greater is being paid for their house, like their mortgage, their
Oh, no kidding.
insurance, their all this stuff. And then they were talking about like they have a car loan and they got all these loans, and I was like, really? Like, so then I was like, okay. So I was like doing the math for mine. I was like, oh my god, I don't I don't know. I like it was like a I I knew that my expenses were really low in relationship to how much I make, but I was looking at and listening to them, and I would be literally like crapping myself like every single day. Like I couldn't even survive. They are so thin in terms of their margin that I just don't. I can't relate to them. Like they're so thin that I don't even know if I can almost necessarily be like friends with them because I don't know. It's almost like they would, I don't know. It just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm at a loss of words because usually you get around people and like we're trying to build wealth, we're trying to do whatever. These people are like the opposite. They're like trying to become poor. And I'm like, how are you doing this? Like, why would you do this? Like, I would go crazy. And some of these people they were talking about. One guy was a mortgage lender or something like that, and he was saying people were taking out loans that were making like $350,000 a year and taking $1 million plus loan out. And I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah. He's like, that's kind of like towards the limit, like a $1.5 million loan, and they make 300,000 or something like that. And I'm like, man, that's a lot of money to be borrowing for that amount of
Yeah.
money. And I was like trying to think, I'm like, do a lot of people do this? He's like, yeah, actually, there's quite a few that really stretch the budget. And I'm like, I would be just crapping myself
Right.
every day. I'd be like, I don't know how I'm going to make this. I, I don't
But
know.
but but what's the difference in our area? What's the difference between a $700,000 home and a 1.5 million? Like
There isn't much at all.
your happiness level. I mean, a $700,000 home anywhere in our town is going to get you like top 10% housing.
Right.
So if you're going for the million and a half, you're getting, top 1%. And it's like, do you need to keep up with the Jones that bad? Like maybe we lack that uh personality aspect where we just kind of lack what the care of what other people think about us.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. Because I really don't care.
I know you
I,
don't.
I, I really don't.
I think I care a little bit more than you, but it's not as bad as most people. Like I've had people make fun of my phone before, and I'm like, "What's wrong with this?" And they're like, "It's like 3 years old," and I'm like, "Still works fine. Battery, battery ain't that great anymore, but why would I go out and spend, another $500 on a phone?" Oh, and then you know what the best part is? When's the last time you bought a phone? Like a new smartphone or something like that?
So I've never actually bought a smartphone. I have a company provided one that I got 3, 4 years ago, and then I have another new one that I upgrade that I had to get a new one through my work. So I've never bought a smartphone for myself.
Okay, finding value listeners, hear that one.
I
Old car,
use the company phone.
old cars and no cell phone. That's how you do it. So I'll give you. So you might not be able to relate, but I think a lot of the viewers will.
Mhm.
When I got my phone I have now about three years ago, I think maybe it was 2 years ago. I went to Best Buy. I said, "How much does this cost?" And they kept giving you the price in months. Like, "Oh, it's $30 a month." And I go, "No, no, no, no. How much does it cost?" They
Mhm.
didn't know. It's not advertised anywhere. They have tablets that they do all the pricing and everything on. They couldn't tell you the price either. So I would have to like take out my calculator and go, okay, what's the term on this? And they'll be like, it's 3 years. And I go, okay, 36 times 25 is how much it costs. And they're like, okay, that's what I'm going to pay for this. And they're like, why would you do that? Like these Best Buy employees were shocked that I was willing
Mhm.
to buy a phone outright. It was completely foreign to them that I didn't want to use a monthly payment plan to do it because I didn't want to be tied to any contracts. I didn't want to be tied to the payment plan because then if I wanted to leave my service provider a year from now, I would have to pay the phone off then before leaving or however it worked, right? I didn't want to deal with any of that. I just want to buy the dang phone and move on with my
Mhm.
life and not have to worry about monthly payments. And no one there had any idea what I was trying to do. It was that foreign to these people.
I am. I don't have an escrow for my house. I pay the property taxes directly.
Oh,
So I don't have an escrow. I don't pay a thing every
yeah.
month. I don't do any of that stuff.
Oh, I
I
need
got
to
none of
look into
that.
that. I need, you're gonna have to show me how to do that because I called my escrow people and they said you're not allowed to do that in Colorado.
I did it based off of how I set up the
Because I
loan.
was like, I don't want to pay this every month. Can I just pay it annually? And they're like, yeah,
That's what
you
I
can't.
do. Yeah, that's
And I was
exactly what
like,
I do. I pay it
and I'm like,
annually. I pay it one time, and they give you two options to pay the property taxes. They give you one. You can do two payments or one payment, and I do the one payment before I think it's April something,
mhm.
whatever it says on the thing, and it's not
Yeah, why
that much.
not?
I mean,
No, why
yeah,
not?
it's not ridiculous. I don't like having money sit in some account that they just fumble with. It's like, no, no, I'll just pay it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think maybe perhaps our I'm trying to think of the actual differences. I never got into debt. I've always been kind of positive. I do have a loan on the house though still, and it's a super low rate, and I'm just letting inflation eat it away. But I'm trying to think of, maybe I'm so far removed from normal people that I can't necessarily relate to them too much.
Hmm.
And I think that's probably one of the cases. So if I can make general like statements when I go to buy something, I ask myself, do I really need this? Is it going to make, a big difference in my life? And if the answer is no, then I don't usually buy it. And the problem is you can justify not buying a lot of stuff with that reasoning, which could be a problem. I mean, at some point I'm going to have to unload this, the money that I've gathered in my life for some, for experiences or something. I mean, why die and like not use it at all? So at some point I'm going to be partying pretty hard, and I think I'm getting closer to that point. The problem is, what do you spend it on? You know,
Yeah.
and if you're
Mm.
young, what happens, I think, is you're younger and you keep building and building and building and building. At some point, you have to like get out of that sequence, and I think that's hard for some people. It's hard to become, be saving your entire life and then become a spender,
Oh yeah.
and just flip.
Yep.
I'll try to do it to some degree, but it's just hard, at least for me. So,
Yeah, it's like a muscle you have to flex. It
well, yeah, well, I
atrophies.
mean, so for instance, I'm not a showy guy. I really am not, but I do find lots of, what I find a lot of value in, or a lot of, self satisfaction. I'll say I find a lot of self satisfaction in taking something that nobody wants and making it good again,
Mm.
and then extracting all that value that is out there. So, for instance, I took a car with a blown engine, swapped another engine in it, and the chassis is fantastic. It's a phenomenal car. The chassis, I use the Mazda RX-8 is the one I'm referring to, and I like doing that. Like I don't know, I just find great enjoyment out of doing that and then running that car because the chassis is good, it's perfectly fine, and it's great, and it's really fun to drive. Um, I couldn't I couldn't take a brand new car, bring it on a track, and just rip it. Like
Right.
I would just feel like I'm just like I couldn't do it. And I don't have that thing. Like I could take a used car and do it, but not a brand new one. And I actually find more enjoyment out of taking something that's older and trying to beat things that are newer with it. Being the underdog. I mean, that's kind of what's fun. So I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of all this stuff. I mean, even in building wealth, and the way that I kind of did it is I got a job. I worked at an aerospace company, one of the largest aerospace companies in the world. And I looked around at everyone else and I was like, these, people who are older. And I said, do I want to live like any of these people? The answer was no. And I looked at the people that were above me and the managers and all this other stuff, the upper level managers. I said, do I want to be those people? The answer was no. I don't want to be any of them. I don't want to be any of these people. So the question I had to ask myself is why, I'm working here, I'm doing all this stuff, but I don't want to be anybody that's in the company. Doesn't that seem a little bit weird?
I had the same reflection though. Same exact one.
Oh yeah.
Just getting in. I worked at the same company as you right out of college. I remember getting in there and going like, looking around, doing one of those in the cubicles and going, all right, everyone over the age of 50, is that who I want to be in 30 years? And I'm just looking around going, no, I couldn't find
Right.
anyone there. They were all either, stressed out, um, still putting in 50 to 60 hours a week. It didn't feel like they had any freedom. It didn't feel like they had any options. And their whole life was just all about their job and ensuring they have that income so that when they hit 67, they can get their full Social Security and then finally, I don't know, retire away. That's kind of a terrible word to put it, but that's what it looked like. And so, it was a pretty good reflection at that age. And then of course meeting you helped a lot too. And it's just like, man, I don't want to be any of these people either. So what do I need to do in life to not be that way? And so,
Yeah.
and I only worked there for about a year before another job opportunity propped up. And I remember telling my manager at the time, who was, I think 50, 52, 53, somewhere around there. I said, hey, I know you brought me on. You had high expectations for me, but I'm leaving. And he was shocked. He was like, I thought I'd get you for at least 5 years. And I remember thinking, like, are you crazy? Like and I remember, I don't know, it's like,
Mhm.
if I have an opportunity that's going to give me an extra 10, 15, 20 grand a year, I'm going to take it. And he actually thought that people were still, I don't know, maybe that mindset of I need to be loyal, super loyal to whatever company I'm in, to climb that ladder. And I'm looking around like everyone that's climbed the ladder here looks unhappy. So
Mhm.
I don't want to be that guy. And and then that helped because then I jumped, diagonal move to a different company, and then diagonal move to a different company. And then within like 4 years, 5 years, I was double the income of what I was making there. If I stayed at the company, I would probably be at like a 20%, 25% uh raise from what my base was. And the reason why I know that is because I was asking people in their late 20s, roughly what they were making. And they would tell me, and I'm sitting there going, I'm making 60K at 20, 23 years old, and they're making, maybe mid 80s, and they've been with the company for 8 years. And I'm going, that doesn't seem like a great ROI to me.
Mhm.
That doesn't seem like a great ROI. But where it was a good ROI was finding a different job somewhere else. And then if you have no debt and you're bouncing between jobs to find a really high paying job, once you get that high paying job, you're like, man, this money just every month, it's like that savings account is just building, 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 building. And then you can just take all that and deploy it to whatever undervalued asset class is available. And then I think that's the easiest way to build wealth when you're in your 20s. No debt, find a high paying job. And if you can't find a high paying job, keep bouncing between jobs until you get there
Mhm.
and then just build and deploy into undervalued assets.
Yeah, I stayed at the company I'm at for a while. I've been there for 17 years. And I would say, I mean, now it doesn't really matter because yeah, I'm doing other things or whatever. But
Yeah.
I, I would say that, yeah, I should have left probably in my 20s. And the way that you know that, how do you know it's time to leave? I mean, that's really the question because I came in there, I made a little bit of money. Yeah, they progressed me a little bit. And I think it's the industry. I think aerospace is just poor. It just doesn't pay that well. And same with maybe some of the other industries as well in general. And a lot of these companies are pretty garbage companies. I think you have to somehow get into a company that aligns you with like bonuses or incentive pay or something to keep you motivated,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
to keep you going. Because if 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 there's none of that, if it all doesn't, if it doesn't exist, how do you stay motivated? I mean, you can do the things over and over again, and if there's no real alignment there, then why work hard? I don't get it.
Yeah, I think my time to go was just the job opportunity I had looked more fun, and I was definitely not happy at that current job. I remember just waking up every morning going, "This sucks." Like that'd be the first thing I thought of every morning. And
Yeah,
part of that wasn't just the company; it was also the job I was in. I was a project manager, and so it felt like at least I had all the responsibility and zero authority.
which
So
is
it's
true.
like, yeah, so it's like, oh, all these drawings need to get signed off on. My timeline's gonna be late. If we don't get this all signed off by Friday, then I'm gonna be red on whatever spreadsheet gets reported up to middle management, and then I look bad. And then I would go to all the engineers and be like, "You guys need to sign this by Friday, please." And they'd be like, "Okay, sure, yeah, we'll get that done." So they wouldn't do it. And then next Monday would roll around. They'd be like, "Hey, you're red on this, particular metric." And I'd be like, "What do I do about it?" And they'd be like, "You got to find ways to incentivize them to sign off on those drawings. That's what leadership's all about." And I'm like, No, they're telling me to pound sand, man. I mean, and it was always middle
Well,
management and upper management saying, telling you need to incentivize them. And I'm like, well, can you show me how you can incentivize me? Because then I can
I,
learn from that.
what
I
what's
can learn
funny
from
is
that.
we we're talking about upper management right now is very similar to what you're describing, like right now for me.
So it
it,
hasn't
it is
changed in 7 years.
no, it is so funny. I It is so funny how bad it is. It is
Goodness,
so
man.
funny. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I think the what the problem, well, there's a lot to cover there. I'll just say that.
Yeah, there's definitely a
There's a
lot.
lot. None of these. So one of the things that I'll say is a lot of people haven't been in very competitive environments. A lot of people that work at these large corporations, they're basically like people that you find under rocks. You like pick up the rock and it's like, oh, look at this person's here. Like they never really did anything in their life. This is my take on it, at least. They never did anything in their life that actually was very competitive. And when I grew up, I went through a lot of competitive things. I played sports at very high levels. Um, I played with, I think, maybe 5 or 6 people that went pro hockey, played some guys that went pro baseball, Joe Mauer and some of those guys. They were a little younger than me, but they're my brother's grade. And we were playing in all these highly competitive teams. And what happens, what you learn is you learn that everybody's not the same, that equity does not exist. You can have equality of equality, like we're equal for the potential opportunities, but some people are just better than you.
Hmm.
It's just like a fact. And then when I look at things completely different than I would say the majority of people. So I'll give some examples here real quick. I know this is related to career and stuff. And if you guys see these people that are managers, I despise them, but I'll get into it. So what I look at is you've got Bo Jackson, right? He spends 5 minutes training and then he goes and hits a 500-foot bomb. And they'd be like, the way that they would view that is, oh, he only spent 5 minutes. I'm like, he hit a 500-foot bomb. Like this dude, we should be hiring him and paying him 20 times because he just did what we wanted him to do in 5 minutes. Like, do you know how exceptional that is? And then they get the person who practices and practices. They spend 50 hours at work and they still can't hit the freaking ball. And I'm like, this dude sucks. And they're like, he worked 50 hours. I'm like, you should fire him. He didn't even hit the ball. This dude took 5 minutes, hit a home run. This dude took 50 hours and missed. And they're over there like, well, we should give this guy a raise. He's worked here for 50 hours. He's put in the overtime. He put in the work. I'm like, oh my God, you guys have no idea what you're doing in terms of management style. And I think that's probably similar to what you ran into, right?
Oh,
I
for
know it's a
sure.
little bit of
That's
a
super
rant.
common that's super common in the military right now too.
Is it?
Oh yeah, the equity thing is just rampant. Or equity? Yeah,
Equities
equity,
equal
right? Yeah,
outcome.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just rampant. They see like I remember having this debate in a formal military class. Are people born leaders or do you raise them to be leaders? It's a mix of both, right? But I think
Both.
it definitely leans. Some people are leaning born. And you can tell because, 9 years old, they're already the captain of their little league baseball team. They go into high school and they're the captain of the football team. They get to college and I don't know, they become the president of whatever fraternity they're in, or maybe something more related to sports still. And by the time they join the military, they're already volunteering for every additional duty that has leadership roles and they excel at it. And then the military looks at the guy that's like sucks as a leader and they go, how can we train that guy to be just like the other guy? And I'm sitting here going, no, 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 no. That guy's a really good follower. Keep him as a follower, make him do all the work that is required as a follower, and he excels at that. He doesn't get bored of it. He doesn't mind the tedious task. Leave him there, let him do those roles, and then take that leader and promote or move that leader to this position and then the follower here and let that dynamic work naturally and let the organization flow. No, what the military does is they go, all right, this guy's doing well here, so we'll keep him here. And then this guy needs to learn from this guy, so we'll kind of put him here Hopefully, he rubs off, and then this guy will go somewhere else, and then we'll leave this guy here to backfill, or we'll move him to a different base and occupy a leadership role. And I'm going, hey, look, this guy can't be a leader. Like it's impossible. And then the military will be like, and then he'll fail. He'll fail. And then the military will say, oh, he needs retraining. He just needs to be retrained. If he can't be a leader, it's because his mentors failed him. And I'm going, no, like some people physically can't deadlift 600 pounds. It's just a fact. Their body won't ever allow it. I would say I'm probably one of those. My bench press is a lot higher than my from a ratio perspective, I have a stronger bench than deadlift, no matter how much I train my deadlift. I'm just gifted in benching versus deadlifts. And I think you're definitely the opposite way.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, that's just how it is. Some people are born perfectly good followers and they excel at it because they don't get bored. They don't question commands. They just kind of go, oh, you want me to go move that? All right, sure. And then they just go. Some people who are kind of born leaders, you go, hey, I need you to go move that. And they go, why? Because they want to learn, they want to know the back end reasoning because they're natural leaders. They're curious as to why. Nope. So yeah, I agree. If you have a middle management that look at the equity side of things, then you should probably get out because it's going to be extremely frustrating on you, and also they're going to burden you with all the responsibility to ensure that people that suck get better because they're going to be like, it's your fault those people suck. You don't have a good training program. You're not a good manager. Blah 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 blah. And then
I'm
you
going
just
through
want
that
to,
right now.
yeah,
Yeah, it's so half the battle. Yeah, what's difficult is I could be incredibly good at certain things. They're so bad that they don't even know how to measure yourself and what you're incredibly good at. Like they don't even recognize it. So it's I think it's made. I don't know if it's a gift. I was the captain of all these teams of doing that growing up. I was that person, and I was kind of always the best player on the team. I was the captain. I would say, hey, look, this is what you need to look for. This is what you need to look out at. Like watch out for this. If you get the first pitch and it's a fastball, go smack it. You're good at hitting fastballs. Hit it. Don't wait. Don't get a strike down on you and then get all the garbage. Like all that stuff. And when you get into these companies, these big corporations, um, you don't have that anymore. And I would say that a lot of the management is so bad that they can't even accurately recognize what's good and what's bad anymore. So they kind of just pile through and they manage from a PIO list. That's no good. They give no vision. It's pretty bad. it's and then they tell you did something wrong. I'm like, okay, tell me what exactly I did wrong here. And they're like, yeah, we missed that shipment. I'm like, okay, so what? How do we miss
ugh.
this thing? What did we do wrong? And it's like they have nothing. So if you say something like you did something wrong, you better have some sort of evidence that you did something wrong and some corrective. I don't know. I know we're getting off a little bit of a topic here, but or maybe this is the topic.
Yeah, 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 it could be. And I think where I've seen this a lot too is this is what they'll do. I think sports is an easier way to make an analogy. They'll take the best running back and make him like the running, and when he gets out, they make him a running back coach. Or they take the best hockey player on the team and they're like, just because he's the most skilled, we're gonna make him the captain.
Mm-hmm.
Or just because this guy's the best football, I don't know, maybe
Whatever it is.
quarterback's a bad example for football, soccer. He's the best soccer player on the team, so we're gonna make him the captain. That's not always the case, and that shouldn't be the case. And I see that a lot in engineering, where they find a really smart engineer and they go, this guy needs to be the chief engineer. And chief engineers need to think more macro, and they also need to have really good interpersonal tact with other people, build relationships with people, know how to delegate, and just know how to work with people. And if you know anything about engineers, usually your smartest and best engineer is really bad at everything I just said.
Mm-hmm.
But these companies are so dumb that they see someone who's really smart and they go, we need to promote him to the chief. And I'm like, look, a really good electrical engineer does not necessarily mean they're going to make a really good chief engineer. These are two
Mm-hmm.
different skill sets. And these companies don't see that. They never see that ever, ever, ever. Or they promote them to engineering manager. Oh, you're such a good engineer. We want to make you the manager of the engineers. It's like, what? Why would you ever do that? If this person has shown zero interest or ability in being able to build relationships and manage people.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm good at is the relationships,
Yeah.
figuring out where people should be, recognizing people struggling very early, um, giving them shots and trying people at different areas, seeing if they're good at it, see if they like it, try to get the alignment, keep them going in that direction if they like it and they're good at it, get people out of there if they're not. And I like that's like what I'm really good at, and hiring individuals, making sure that and screening people coming in. Like that's like what I'm really good at. And then what they want is they want something like different, I think, but they don't even realize how good they have it and the people that we have and how good those people are. Like they're almost oblivious, and that's where I get a little bit frustrated, very frustrated.
Hmm.
So I'm probably like 3 or 4 levels too low. it's it's pretty bad because then the other upper people that they need to dig a little bit deeper and they need to understand a lot more than what they do.
Oh, you know what? That's another
So
thing wealth helps you too. So like I'm a chief engineer now. I don't see myself going into anything higher than that because I don't know if I want to. I
yep,
look at anyone above me and they're just working insane hours.
yep.
They never know what's going on. Because they'll have a portfolio of 20 programs under them that they take the top three and invest 80% of their time in those top three programs. And then their other 17 programs in their portfolio, they have to split that, an hour a week. And so if I ever have any issues and I tell luckily I'm not a top three red program, my program's decent. Um, then she can't help me because she has no idea what's going on. And it's like, then I look at it and I go, I don't want that job. There's no way I want that job.
Yep.
But then I wonder why do they take that job? And it's probably, I don't know, over leveraged, or maybe they do enjoy it, but I have a hard time believing they do. But
Another, I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of people that are in those jobs, they're all alcoholics. They also are,
yeah.
I don't, because like you can see, well, one, you've got certain things around your face. They get red, like a red flushness. They can get like little things around their nose or their eyes. Um, when they come to work, their hands, they shake
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
this.
they do.
You notice that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see the
They're
shaky hand all the
alcoholics.
time.
Like
Yeah,
they're all
they
like
never sleep.
alcoholics.
They never
So I'm
sleep.
like looking at these people. I'm like, you're an alcoholic. How are you at these levels? And then they come in here and they just blow it all. And you're like,
Yeah.
how are you so bad? How did we hire these people in these positions? They're just they're so bad.
I'm surprised you've
And
noticed that too.
oh god, I notice everything.
Yeah.
They cheat on their wives and their families. They do all sorts of this unethical stuff.
Ooh.
It's unbelievable.
Hey, you know
And this
what?
isn't just one area. I've seen this all throughout my career when I became in management. I'm just like, you guys are, oh my god,
I don't have
pretty
the
bad.
time to go into this tangent for this video, but we can do another one later. What are your thoughts on because you just mentioned it, cheating on the wives, the for in your 20s? I think a relationship plays a huge factor into building wealth, like being smart about it. I've seen a lot of guys in their 20s just blow money on girls that, oh,
Gross.
oh my gosh, they just blow it, or they end up marrying someone who just blows their money for them. Um,
Yeah, it
that's a
could be.
That's a completely different topic. I can rant about that for a long time. Mainly because I've got a great wife who is very wise with money, but I've seen too many times where at work a lot too. I'll hear that at
Hmm.
work. I had a friend while we were deployed. He was monitoring his wife's Amazon account, and he would cancel orders on a deployment. He'd log in every morning and be like, "What did my wife order today?" And he would go and cancel things. And then he texts her and he goes, "You don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need that." And I'm sitting there going, "What? I don't even think my wife has an Amazon account." Just
Yeah,
hundreds of dollars a day.
you have to be aligned with your spending
Yeah,
habits.
yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, you got a pretty big mismatch there, and that's not going to work out in the end. Yeah, so that could be an anti-wealth effect there.
Yeah. How to lose money in your 20s.
That's true. It really is. What else, Andrew? What else would you like to share? You got anything
I
else,
think
or
not too much. I think the big thing is in your 20s, it's don't get debt. Just avoid at all cost. Spend those first 5 years in the workforce bouncing between as many jobs as you can, not because brings you happiness, but because you're experiencing all the different job opportunities to figure out what does make you happy. And on top of that, you're trying to bounce around to find a high paying job. Um, I think that's not new knowledge these days for millennials, but the way you make more money is by leaving your job. I think about 10 years ago, that was just now becoming more common. But like probably when you were growing up too, everyone would tell you go find one company and stay there for 40 years, get your pension, blah 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 blah. But you don't
No,
do that. You
I
just can't do
no
that.
one no one said anything to me. I just stayed because it was easy to some degree, and I don't know. I never really got the I don't know. It's tough because I think the toughest part for me is I didn't want any of the jobs above me.
Yeah.
So you feel kind of like there's a difference between being able to do it and the want to do it. And I looked above me and I said, I don't want any of these positions.
Hmm.
I don't want to be like any of these people. And I mean, I could do it very easily. I could go 4 or 5 levels. I could probably be a CEO of these big corporations. I really could if I really wanted to. I just don't want to. Like, I really don't want to. I'm not limited by knowledge or know-how or anything like that. I find zero enjoyment out of it. Zero. It's so you go in there and like I like messing with things. I don't like the procedures.
Oh
So
yeah.
I like doing, I like ripping things apart, putting it together. I don't like, well, we need to do all this procedural stuff. And I document everything. And oh, you missed this one little step right here. And yeah, it's like, oh my God, guys, seriously, just I can't, I don't work like that. I'm more of like throw stuff on the wall, see if it sticks, try something else, try something else. I guess I'd be more on the research design side, I guess. But from a manufacturing standpoint, to see improving processes and stuff like that, which I do. But then some of it's you get these guys that are like, I don't know, very like procedural based, and I can't handle the procedural based. I like playing on the edges, you
Yeah.
know, and that's where I have fun.
Well, that's
So
also what, well, that shows in your investment strategy too, right? It's not the buy and hold S&P 500 for the rest of your life and only the
yes,
S&P 500. That's a very procedural based investment strategy. Dollar cost average into the SPY every month versus, hey, what's undervalued? How we're going to find the asymmetric upside in things.
yep. And then I look at
And yeah.
then I look at charting. I got into charting, and that's actually been more successful than maybe the fundamental aspects. So if you can kind of combine it all, that's where I live, is in the
Mhm.
gray area. I don't, I can't stand the procedural. Oh, just do 60%, 40% bonds, 60% this, and kind of just do. It's like, no, 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 screw all that. I can't. Oh, God, I hate
For the rest of your life.
that. Yeah, I know. I can't do it. I literally cannot do it. Like I will go crazy. And I think that's the problem. I don't, I like thinking, I don't know. I don't think linearly, I guess. I think kind of like where's the turning points, where's the inflection points. Like I like that type of investing and looking for it. So yeah, I'm not the procedural type.
Mhm. But so if that's not your type, you got to find a job that doesn't, isn't centered around those things. Because if you enjoy a particular aspect of your job, you'll probably excel at it a little bit better, and then that might open up more opportunities. I do believe that. The more you like your job, the more money you'll make because the more opportunities will open up because you're better at what you do because you actually like what you do. And then if you can find that and you have no debt and you're not blowing your money on stupid stuff, then by the time you hit 30, 35, you're going to be in a lot better position than most people,
And
the vast majority of people. And
and
that's
find
three things you got to do. That's it.
and find a good manager to work for. Don't settle for someone who's making your life miserable.
Or I got another
God.
one. Or if you're like me, find a job where you have so many managers that none of them manage you. So I have an engineering manager who is overworked. I have a systems engineering portfolio manager that's overworked. And then I think I have one more manager that I never talk to. And so all three of them are so overworked. And because my program isn't red, I don't get any attention. No one micromanages me. It's kind of nice.
Yep.
They don't know I exist, which is fine, perfectly fine. So that's not a
Yeah.
bad position to be in either.
That's good. Good. Well, I don't have anything else to really talk about, Andrew. What about you? Anything else?
No, no, I think we just discovered another topic. We can pocket that for another time. That would be a spicy topic, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Andrew. I really appreciate it. And we'll have you on to talk about some other topics in the future. And everyone else who made it to the end, say I made it to the end in the comment section. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.